Welcome back to Flushing It Out Career Edition. I'm here today with Kim Jenkins. Kim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Kim is in the construction industry. And so, Kim, why don't you tell us kind of, what your career entails, what your guys' business is?
All right. So I own Genesis Home Improvement as well as Genesis Restoration. We do home improvement and insurance restoration work, which includes roofing, siding, windows, and then we do bathrooms and interior work as well as decks. So a little bit of everything. We've been in business since 2014 and just took a huge leap of faith. And
Jumped in.
What we do.
Now, is that something, did you always have a passion for contracting and construction work, or how did you actually end up in this field?
So I think maybe subconsciously I did. I don't know. Like when I was little, I loved Home Depot, right? And I love Staples. So I joke now that it's like the business side of me and the construction side of me got to marry each other.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, really marriage brought me into it. So my husband has a huge background in roofing, construction, heavy equipment operating, and I have a background in banking and insurance. And so I never thought I'd be running the construction company. So I, do the finance, I do the operations, the HR, manage the project manager and the higher level managers in the business. So I'm kind of dipping into everything into the business. So it's been interesting to be able to marry the construction side, the business side, and the finance side, along with the background that I had before.
You bring up a great point, because a common theme I've seen through a lot of the career interviews is that, there's definitely not that straight path. It goes all over. And I love that, young adults can see how different careers can morph or, lead to the next path. So now that you are running your construction company, what does a typical day look like for you guys? Like as far as, the work you're doing as well as the hours you're keeping?
So being an owner, you definitely work more hours than it may appear on the outside, right? So there's always something to do. The office team, I would say, and production team, they average between 40 to 50 hours a week. We work Monday through Friday. Now there are on-call teammates who, if there's a water emergency, there's a leak, someone goes in and fixes it and then extracts the water to make sure the house is secure. But usually it's 40 to 50 hours a week. The production team starts their day at the shop, gathers the staged materials, gets to the job site, starts doing their thing, and it could be a single day project, multiple day project, but the superintendent is out there managing that and checking on each job. And then the project manager, who oversees the superintendent, he's the one who is able to look at the schedule, look long term, try to schedule people out long term, navigate how long which job's going to take. You always have delays in construction, so you always have little surprises. It's never, ever, ever smooth, no matter what you see on the TV. There are always surprises, so they have to be really good at that. And then the office team manages the office and takes the phone calls, and then I'm bouncing between overseeing that. And dealing with HR and then the business side of it as well. So I would say my job more probably 60 to 65 hours a week. But that's about typical.
Yeah, it's a lot running a business.
Yeah.
Because I know there's so many different students watching this, I'm glad you brought up all the different areas of the company, because construction isn't just one thing that fits. So when it comes to certification, training, education, can you do a quick overview, kind of touching on those different levels? Because obviously young adults will be starting at entry-level positions. So if someone did want to go into a construction field, what would be kind of that path for doing that?
Sure. And you're right. There's a ton of different pieces to the puzzle, right? So there's even marketing as well. So social media, that type of piece as well. So let's start on the production team, which is a huge passion of mine to revitalize the future of trade. Lord Fairfax Community College, the corporate training program. I'm super excited because it's taken about 4 years of working with them, and they've been fantastic. But in January, we're standing up a carpentry trade program It's NCCER Level 1 Carpentry, where students take OSHA 10, and then they take core, and then it's a total of 14-week program. And the employers are the ones who are setting their teammates. So what that looks like for Genesis specifically is I have a teammate who comes in entry level out of high school, likes to work with their hands. Honestly, no prior experience is needed. I mean, I know there's a little bit of shop class. There's like ag machinery in school, but even if they don't have that experience, if they just come in, show that they're hardworking, we would put them through this program. They finish the program, and then, you know, a year and a half of solid employment, and we put them through the next program, which at that point, successful completion of level 2, they could be a carpenter. They go from carpenter assistant to carpenter. Then, you know, let's say another year and some change goes by, we put them through level 3. At that point, they could be promoted to lead carpenter. Then again, level 4, which is the last one, they could be promoted to possibly superintendent or project manager. And so there truly is a career path that, you know, you can go to college for 4 years, or you can do trade school and potentially come out 4 years, no debt, employers paying for it. You know, and you've gone from a carpenter assistant to a superintendent. So there is a true career path. On the opposite side, on the admin side, which is interesting, you know, we have people come in and they do answer phones, schedule appointments, even clean the office, right? So you have entry-level people come in, and we have someone who's been promoted to office manager, but there's also project manager assistant. So the admin, who's the project manager assistant, she's helping call customers, make sure materials ordered, make sure it's in the staging bay. There's an inventory manager making sure that the materials in the bay and that they're you know, coordinated and organized correctly. So if you love to organize things, like that could be a, you know, potential job. So then, you know, it's not just swinging a hammer. You know, that's definitely our heavy focus right now, just because of the new program. But construction is all kinds of things. So
I love that. I love all of these interviews, seeing, being, you know, sharing with young adults, like that there's just so many places to win and so many different careers, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
What are your favorite and least favorite parts of your job?
My least favorite part would be the unrealistic, unhappy customer. Luckily, they're few and far between. So my favorite part, honestly, of running a business is having teammates tell me that they love their job. That's a big deal to me. I think it's great we fix people's houses. It's awesome we can restore people from tragedy, right? You've got a fire, you've got a water loss. It is overwhelming when your house is up, torn apart. So I love being able to help people, but truly that employee part is, as the owner, is my favorite thing. I love when people have a meaningful place to work, and I love bringing people in entry level and them showing that they're loyal and they're hardworking, and then promoting them. Like that's, you know, that's satisfying. That's exciting for me.
I'm grateful you shared that, because I'm grateful that kids watching this can see that, because as they, you know, as you students who are watching, going down your career path, you know, you're going to have to maybe go down some roads that aren't a good fit, but knowing that there's bosses, employers out there who want to create that environment, I feel like it can instill that confidence that you're worth it, you're worth investing in, you're worth being in an environment, you know, because I think sometimes we get stuck on living the dream of having your own business, and that's not necessarily the right fit, because as you said, you're working 65 hours. So if you want to go in, punch the clock, work, there's nothing wrong with that. And it can be more fulfilling, less stressful, but working with an employer who has that value set. I think I'm just excited for you know, young adults to get that message.
Yeah,
early.
and it's interesting, like my parents were government workers, right? So they had very safe jobs, low paying jobs, but safe jobs, right? Great benefits. And so that's how I grew up. So to do the complete opposite and run a business, even coming over from my banking career, right? I mean, that's semi comfortable in that banking career. It was very uncomfortable for me to come over and run a business. But I'll tell you, it's super rewarding. There are so many paths that I've taken that sometimes I wish I'd have paid attention more then and absorbed more, because even though maybe that wasn't my long-term career, there are definitely lessons in each job that you do Even when I was 14 working food services at Splashdown in Manassas, like I think about things we did then process wise and just, oh, that's why we did that. Or, this is interesting how we do this. And, always remembering there's a bigger picture there because, when we're younger, we kind of just have tunnel vision thinking, everything's got to be perfect. We got to have our life planned out. We got to have it planned out now. And then it's going to be great for the next whatever year. Life is not like that. And success, I'm sure everyone's seen that, graphic where you're kind of going around like this. But it's okay not to, to try to figure it out and kind of wind.
Yeah. Try a few different things. Yep. And what's great about the not only the construction industry, but your specific business is, there's so many different places that you can try too. It doesn't have to be just one path. So as we wrap up part one, is there anything else that would be valuable for a high school student to know, either, with your career or as you started to touch on, what you wish you would have known then that you know now?
Yeah, I just, it sounds kind of cliche. I know everyone said, do what you love. And I never really understood what that meant until I'm doing what I love. I love helping people. And it's not easy. I'm not even going to pretend like it's easy. There are times when you go on vacation and you're not really on vacation because you're still the owner, so you have to answer these questions. But I don't feel like I'm working. So do what you love. And as a carpenter, you can make good money.
They're shorthanded on carpenters too.
Yes, carpentry is huge. As a project manager, you can make good money. So set yourself up for success. Get in with a good place that feels right, and trust your gut.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. I love what you said about doing what you love and how you wouldn't have thought running a construction company, I bet 20 years ago would be something you love. But I know, just because I know you, building that family connection and bond. And so just kind of as kids are out, growing, learning, I think it's really neat as you start building your career, finding things you're passionate about. It may not look like the job you thought it would, but you end up finding that it overlaps with your passion. So
yep, that's perfect.
You're walking that out. I appreciate that. Well, Kim, thank you so much. We're going to come back with part two in a little bit with some bonus questions, but I appreciate your time and insight.
Sure, thanks so much.
All right, we're back with part two. So just some quick follow-up questions. What would you say are some misconceptions people have about your career, the construction industry and whatnot?
That it's quick, that it's cut and dry. Construction in itself, and I alluded to this earlier, but you don't know what's behind the walls. So when you're building a new house, that's a very different animal. We're in remodeling and restoration. So, if we go into a house to remodel a bathroom and we tear out a wall, we think we're doing one thing, but we could find mold, we could find the lack of support, like the structure needs to be redone. You could find rotten plywood underneath the bathtub. Like there's all kinds of what ifs. So that's a huge misconception where people think that it's just cut and dry. You're going to replace my tub, my toilet, my sink, run the floor, and that's it. So understanding that there really is a puzzle behind the wall. Mm-hmm. And even the same with restoration. If you have a water issue and we come in and you think we're just mopping up the water, well, water goes and goes and goes. So oftentimes by the time you see it, it's already been in your house and it's underneath of things that you don't want underneath of. Mm-hmm. And so making sure that you kind of have to put on like an investigator's hat to try to figure out, and it's again like a puzzle. Yeah. So it's not so cut and dry.
Yeah. So much problem solving goes into stuff that you don't realize. And what would people be surprised to learn about the construction industry?
That one of the things that I think I've come across that I was surprised at how much the actual workers felt as though they were on a lower level. Mm. It was disappointing to me because there are so many workers that were looked down on because they were considered. I've had people tell me, well, we're just the labor. We're just, the workers. You're not, I mean, these guys are smart, fantastic at math. I mean, can put something together without blueprints, I mean, these guys are smart. Mm-hmm. And that really was something that just shook me when I realized that they felt less than. And So you'd be surprised how smart they are.
Oh, for sure. And I think that that's the whole thing I love with careers and promote, and, interviewing people more, because I just think that there's an image of, what success looks like. And when we start peeling back the layers, there's, success comes in so many different shapes and forms for people, and having a fulfilling career where you are giving, in my opinion, giving back, personally fulfilled, giving back, like that's so much more important than fitting into a mold. So
correct. Yeah. I mean, one of my carpenters talks about how he loves finishing a project and being able to stand back and look at it and have a sense of completion, and be able to deliver something. So it's an art for sure.
That's great. And that leads right into, what's the greatest part or most rewarding part of your job?
Lifting those people up. I mean, the current moment I have, most of our field people are men. I do have one woman. But lifting them up and making sure that they feel just as valued and just as important as the people in the office. Mm-hmm. Because it really does take all of us to make sure it all happens. So that's my favorite part, and just allowing people to feel valued that have never felt valued before. Yeah. Sometimes it takes a little bit for them to accept it, but once they accept it, it's neat.
That's great. And that actually is a good segue to our last question, which is, if there's, are there certain types of gifts, talents, interests that would make someone, good in the career, in this career field? But I want to kind of have a second question, which is also, there's all different types of abilities we all have, whether it's different abilities with our physical, different, ways we think and whatnot. So as I said, are there certain gifts and talents? And then are there ways for people that kind of have different abilities to find a win in what you guys do?
Yeah. So I think about myself first, because I was voted most talkative, told I was verbally gifted. So if you talk a lot, you're probably going to be really good at networking and really good at leading people. So don't be discouraged. You have to talk at the appropriate time, but don't be discouraged. And then I think about my oldest too, when he was 8 and he was pulling apart the computer. I walk in and he's like pulling apart the computer, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? And then he like puts it right back together. And you know what? He's not one who went to a four-year school. He's a trade school kind of guy, and he's doing electrical, and he's doing a really good job at it. And so if your brain is wired, to use those Legos, or to build, those popsicle stick bridges that you win because it carries the most weight, and you enjoy that, and you thrive off of that. If you're an organizer, if you're a process geek, like I'm such a process geek, I want to know how and why, and if that doesn't work, we need to do it this way. So strategically thinking, project management, may be something that's up your alley. So those are some of the gifts, I think, that off the top of my head, that would work in some of the positions.
That's great. And Kim, if people want to get in touch with you, because you are such a great mentor and also just offer with your company so many opportunities, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'd love to talk to anybody who has questions or is interested. My email is Kim, Kim, at GHIVA. So it's just Genesis Home Improvement VA, .com. So Kim at GHIVA.com. And then my number is 540-439-5947.
Awesome. Kim, thank you so much again for all of your insight. And I know you and your husband do great work, and you run a fabulous team. And so thanks for taking the time to share today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.